Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of This is Leadership, your intersection between growth and leadership. And listen, guys, I'm super excited this morning. I've got, somebody on the show as my guest. I've been following him for a long time on social media, a big source of inspiration for me. In my journey in taking care of my body to make sure that that my mind is functioning at 100% because it needs the body, but also just inspirational in terms of leadership. So I'm really excited to welcome Dr. Ryan Jackson here on the show. So Dr. Jackson has served in public education for over 15 years. Before coming to Maury County, Tennessee, where he served as executive lead principal at the Mount, Tennessee's first and premier pre-K to 12 STEAM campus for the past 6 years. He was an English teacher, dean of students, and assistant principal in inner city Nashville at Maplewood High School for nearly a decade. He received both his master's and doctorate degrees from Trevecca University, has served in both urban and rural schools. Geez, he even traveled to China with Vanderbilt University, given a TED Talk, and served as keynote speaker for diverse organizations such as Junior Achievement, Cognia, and the departments of Tennessee, Kentucky, and North Dakota Public Education. That's awesome. His passion is serving the underdog. Can't wait to get into that with you, Ryan, as well. Ensuring all students have access to a high quality education and purposeful, lucrative post-secondary opportunities. Love that. Dr. Jackson also serves on the Maury Alliance Board of Directors and was most recently named the Executive Director of Leadership and Business Partner Development for Kids on Stage of Maury County. And that is a nonprofit dedicated to bridging the gap between public-private partnerships in Middle Tennessee. Dr. Jackson also founded Fit Leaders, LLC. Can't wait to jump into that as well with you, Ryan. A leadership development organization that supports leaders from all industries on their road to living and leading a healthy lifestyle. And congratulations on this one, my friend. But you were most recently named the Maury County Principal of the Year for 22-23. And you are actually a semi-finalist for the Tennessee State Principal of the Year. That's just unbelievable. Listen, welcome to the podcast.
Man, honored to be here, Joel. Thank you, buddy. Thanks for having me.
You are crushing it. You are crushing it, my friend. Congratulations on that award and on that nomination. From my perspective and from what you've been able to give me, through social media, your posts and your inspiration, it is definitely well deserved in my eyes. I appreciate you. I appreciate everything you bring to the table. Your energy, your focus, your leadership, your drive. Everything comes through that. I just had to tell you that because it's important for us to know and to celebrate those things. And the difference that you're making, Ryan, I think it's great. So thanks for that, buddy.
Man, I appreciate the flowers. I'll take them. And likewise, thank you, man, for giving me this platform and opportunity to have my voice amplified, and an opportunity to support you and your leadership journey and connect with your constituents, your stakeholders. Man, I really appreciate it, Joel. Thank you.
That's awesome. And thanks for being here. And, for those of you that are watching this on YouTube, as you can see, it's a beautiful Saturday morning. So we're thankful for that as well. We're just talking, Ryan and I, before the recording, how, where we live. So getting to know each other a little bit better and talking about how, we've experienced a lot of geographical areas where, the temperature can vary quite a bit. And so that's really interesting, me being in Northern Ontario in Canada. One day it's 5 inches of snow. The next day you're wearing shorts and doing kayaking out back here on the lake. So really interesting. But listen, let's get right into it. I've read off your bio, Ryan, but one of the things that I really appreciate about you and what you put out there on social media is, your family and how important it is to you. Cause I'm in the same boat. It's the same thing for me. Number one is life. Number one is family, is my health, my growth. And, through what you put out there, it's clear that for you, it's number one as well. You put a lot of stuff out, about your wife and about your son. And so, I'd like the listeners to get to know you a little bit better. So, we've talked about a little bit of your journey, but tell us about you a little bit so that we can, get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah, for sure, man. 43 years old. So I'm in what would be considered, officially midlife. So for
I hear you.
43-year-old father, I've got an 8-year-old son,
Yeah.
Who's in third grade. My wife, she is a veteran, just all-star teacher, just an absolutely amazing educator. who's taught everywhere from Jacksonville, Florida, Duval County, the largest county in the United
Wow.
States,
Wow.
to inner city Nashville herself at the middle school tier and at the high school tier, then down here in Maury County, middle school again. Now she's in the most affluent county in the state. We felt like we had made it.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
in the most
Yeah.
affluent county, teaching high school at a blue ribbon school, man, where she's an
Wow.
absolute rock star. So, it's good to have that bedrock, underneath me in terms of my family. That's what they mean to me. My wife's son specifically, my mother, big shout out to her. She lives in Indiana. That's my home
Okay.
state,
Okay.
Evansville, Indiana. Moved to Nashville in 2002 after undergrad, where I wanted to be a filmmaker. I didn't know if you knew
Really?
that.
Really?
Yeah, and not to say didn't want to be. I was going to be. We produced a film, raised that
Unbelievable.
capital. Yeah,
Okay.
when I was in undergrad, and then moved to Nashville, which was the closest, kind of a launch pad, if you will, that had production facilities and actors at the time.
Yeah.
Remember, this is pre everything, man. This is 2001, 2002. So
Yeah.
we shoot this thing on film. I moved to Nashville. We finish it. I sell it. Live
Really?
in Los Angeles briefly,
Yeah.
and realized pretty quickly, bro, that in that market, a domestic home distribution deal with Blockbuster and Hollywood Video, their purchasers at the time. Remember
Yeah.
those two
Oh,
giants in the game,
I remember those.
two
Definitely.
dinosaurs at this
Yeah.
point, but
Yeah. Yeah.
that it wasn't going to be life changing financially, and I didn't want to grind it out in a 1-bedroom apartment, with 3 other guys. So I moved back to Nashville, really continuing that passion, man, still chasing that passion. But around 2007, 2008, here in the United States, man, the recession hit, and I can remember sitting in a coffee shop and seeing this newspaper article, and on the front of it, it had splashed in big bold letters, bro, hard to fill schools offering combat pay.
Really?
That was the title. I had this veteran educator on there with a bullhorn. And I just remember seeing that and keying in on that. Mind you, the recession is like looming. I kind of knew, this guillotine was about to swing. So on a whim and based on some conversations, I call up this principal that I'd never met before, that I just saw from this article. And she schedules me for an interview, man, the next day. And having never taught, a day in my life, I ended up teaching at Maplewood High School for approximately 5 years, and go on to be assistant principal there and make a 9-year run at that school, which got me into education.
Yeah,
Which brings me here.
That's quite an interesting journey, from filmmaking to the classroom.
For
so
sure.
I think that's just unbelievable. But you know what? I think I'm a firm believer that things happen for a reason, and that journey, whatever journey that we are on, it takes us to where we want to be. But I think only if we're intentional and we put the right processes and systems in place. So I think that's great. It's really interesting. Love to hear about your wife and your son. I hear you on that. I'm going to be turning 50 this year, so really excited
Man,
about that.
you make it look good, man. You do, bro.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it, and same to you. But like I said, it's all about taking care of us, and we'll be talking about fifth leaders in a little bit. But I firmly believe in that, and I put it out there as well. So and I encourage it within my colleagues, my family, my friends, and I look at my dad. The best example I can give you is my dad. My dad's 76, and he's just in unbelievable shape. He still walks, 3-4 miles a day. He's active, keeps his brain active, keeps his body active. And that's my goal. That's my objective, right? It's like, when I'm going to be 76, I want to be like that. I want to be moving around. I want to still be, be able to, if I've got grandkids, you never know. I've got 2 kids, Caleb, which is 19, and Chloe, which is, she's 17. So grade 12 for my daughter, and my son, he's off to college, 2nd year now. So now it's a time where we're thinking about us, right? And, future plans and what we want to do.
That's
so
right.
we got to put, stuff into place now so that we're able to do those things, when we reach that age. So, but I feel my wife is an entrepreneur, so she has a business here in North Bay, Ontario. She's got a spa salon with about 23 employees, so it's the biggest spa salon.
Bro, that's why you look so good.
No,
man.
It's
that's no, I get it now. I was wondering. I was like, man, he looks great, man. This dude is 50. Man, he looks great, bro. You've got a wife who owns a spa.
I do, but you know what?
That's your secret sauce, man.
It's actually not that, because it's funny. It's funny how we do own a spa, but usually I only go there to get my hair cut. But so I'd say in most part, the look is maybe a little bit of genetics for sure. I talked about my dad and my mom as well. but just taking care of myself. I think that's
For sure.
the other part of the secret sauce, and just being positive and always seeing, in life, that glass half full. That makes
Yeah, no
a
doubt.
huge difference. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that
it's
mindset.
exactly. But it's definitely a plus to have, a beautiful, successful, strong wife that has a spa salon. So, whenever I do
Yeah,
need to get
that's right,
a
man.
a little bit of work done, then I can go there. That's for sure. So no, it's great. So it's great to get to know you. I love what you put out there, like I was saying. And we just share a lot of the same values. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the podcast. Not only, at the family level and at the fitness level, but also, at the leadership level. So, and one of the things that really caught my eye when I first, discovered you on social media was the Fit Leaders First. I want to talk about that after, but it's really the work and that mindset and the whole idea of, the underdog's advocate. I had seen it and I go, what is that? I wasn't sure what it was. And then when I discovered a little bit more exactly what it was, I thought that was really awesome. And and I was able to relate to that, being a school principal myself and being in the building with my kids and wanting to create, whatever opportunity I could create for them to be able to explore,
Yeah.
especially what they like to do in life. So, for the people listening, Ryan, can you tell us a little bit about, what is the Underdog's Advocate? How did you birth that, and what kind of work do you do when speaking about the Underdog's Advocate?
Man, absolutely. And I'm glad you started with that.
Yeah.
It's near and dear to my heart. It really speaks to my origins in education, but also, man, just my origins in general. If we're being fully transparent, when I give these keynotes, I mean, I tell people all the time, I'm not here to pander. I am not here to, give you platitudes.
Yeah.
It's gonna be authentic. It's gonna be rooted in receipts. So let's just be honest with each other and have a genuine conversation. I grew up in a city called Evansville, Indiana, the south side of Evansville, right near the levee. Not the best part of town. Didn't have, the best education experience growing up. It's just a reality.
Okay.
So I had never thought much about that, man. Honestly, I mean, I still figured out a way. I grew up a redheaded stepchild, with an alcoholic father who would die young. And I still figured it out, man. I just
Yeah.
found a way to kind of
Yeah.
plow through life and get things done. I think some of that is just that tenacity that's in me. But it wouldn't be until around 2007, 2008, that I'm beginning to transition, not even a smooth transition, just a hard transition into education, where I took a teaching job in a very tough school.
Okay.
And having never taught, properly a day in my life, I went into it with this idea that, well, I know how to write, and I did not have a good public education experience myself.
Okay.
So maybe, and I don't know that it was just formalized at this time in my life, but it was certainly this attitude that I had. Maybe I can get into this thing and inspire a kid.
Yeah.
Maybe I can get into this thing and speak to people the way I needed to be spoken to back
Yeah.
then.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Maybe I can just identify a few kids. I mean, this is just thinking early, because the school was tough. Man, where the school was at the time was very tough. But there were these dedicated teachers, this core group in there that were really trying to make something happen at this very tough place. And I knew I wanted to be a part of that.
Yeah.
So what skill sets did I have? Man, I knew I could teach kids how to write, or I thought I could. That was the idea, the mindset I went into. But on top of that, man, I just wanted to help kids, those kids that didn't feel like they were seen, recognized, or felt like they belonged. I tried really hard to turn that classroom environment to that perceived sense of belonging, that when you walked in this door, man, you belonged in Mr. Jackson's class at that time. You wanted to be in here. The way he spoke to you, connected to you, the way he taught was different. So that underdog's attitude, that underdog's advocate, came out of that spirit. But then also, man, I was a big movie fan growing up. There's a movie called The Devil's Advocate with Keanu Reeves and Al Pacino.
Yeah.
And it just turned into this idea that, man, I'm gonna be the underdog's advocate, where I'm gonna go out of my way, to fight for each and every kid that may not have those people, those batteries in their back to push them forward. I'm gonna be that person. And that transition, man, from inner city schools to rural schools, to taking that trip to China and seeing what that landscape looked like,
Yeah.
and just evolved into this persona, this idea that I'm here to help absolutely any and everybody that needs it. And that includes adults these days, through my work with Fit Leaders, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And you've done a lot of great stuff at the mountain, particular because I've seen a lot of a lot of pictures that you've shared on social media, and so having that attitude of and for me, I'm listening to you talk, Ryan, and it all comes back to creating relationships, right, with the kids, and that's number one. You got to connect first, the heart first, and then learning comes after. If there's no connection, in my opinion, there's not much learning that goes on. So having that attitude and going into it with the school, and and let's put it in perspective with the mountain in particular, because you spent a lot of years there and you did some great things. What kind of an impact did you realize you were having, coming in with that underdogs advocate sort of way of thinking and wanting to create connections with kids that maybe felt like they didn't have any? What kind of impact did you have on that school culture and on the kids?
Yeah, that's a personal journey there, man,
Yeah.
where and it's a long one, to be honest. I was wanting to get into administration so bad, or I was technically in administration. I was an assistant principal in
Yeah.
Metro Nashville.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a principal so bad, or at least I thought I did. This was a time in my life where I really could not be told no. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I was just hard charging at this point. I was probably 2 years sober in my life at that
Yeah.
point,
Yeah.
and excited about just going to the next level. I got my doctorate just a couple of years before, and I'm ready to run. Metro Nashville went through a hiring freeze. They were getting a new superintendent, so they had put everything on hold. And again, it's just kind of this lightning in a bottle moment where
Mm.
I would have stayed in Metro Nashville. I would have. That's where I wanted to be. This is where I was projected. This is where I wanted to go. And now there's a pause button on that, and I was not to be paused at that time in my life. So I had another superintendent who I knew through some graduate studies. He was down in a different county, 2 counties below me that I'd never heard of, and kind of throws me a lifeline. Here's an opportunity. Long story short, I get the Mount Pleasant job,
Yeah.
which takes me from inner city Nashville, large, fragmented community, comprehensive high school, to rural America,
Mm.
very insular, small town,
Yeah.
approximately 5,000 people, that
Oh,
had
that's
its own
small. Yeah.
cluster of schools that was under an umbrella of a district. But man, this 3 school cluster in this small town was like its own ecosystem.
Mm.
Okay. And just, man, unbeknownst to me at the time, just very insular and not real excited about new people, mostly because the way the community itself was perceived and had been treated,
Yeah.
as opposed to surrounding communities. It itself was the underdog, which I did not know any of this going in. This is just the full truth. I
Mm.
just took that job sight unseen because I wanted a principalship.
That's
Shame
right.
on me for that, not doing
Mm.
my proper research and homework
Mm.
at the time. But I take the job, grab that bull by the horns, and I'm going to be me. I mean, this is
Yeah.
why I'm here. This is what I'm here to do. And, again, I believe in providence, man. I've got a couple of great stories
Mm.
in my life to prove why, but I believe in providence, that these things happen for a reason.
Absolutely.
So here I am, lo and behold, and it does not take long, just a couple of conversations to realize this place may not be in the best shape.
Mm.
These people may not feel how they need to feel. They're
Mm.
certainly, very quickly realizing they're not perceived by others as how they should be perceived.
Wow.
So instantly, I mean, man, it happened pretty instant that, we're going to do some second order change here. We're going to step in, we're going to establish some new norms. We're even going to create a new identity for ourselves that
Mm.
would go against tradition in some aspects.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
some of these lessons you have to learn painfully at times, but it's going to go against tradition. But you have to start asking yourselves, is the current tradition helping everyone? If that answer is
Absolutely.
no, then man, I'm coming in with a battle axe, and we're going to break this thing wide open and try to help as many people as we can. So it was that spirit, it was that energy, it was the leveraging social media, which I had been doing, but I mean, I amped it up to 11, as they say in
Yeah.
Spinal
Yeah.
Tap. I mean, I
Yeah.
just turned
Yeah.
it all the way up, and was going to help this community in absolutely any way that I could. And that change happened pretty quickly, my friend. Honestly, I
Mm.
mean, kids
Mm.
just jumped onto it.
Yeah.
This new kind of leadership, this very different person persona, the hair, the pastel shirts, the energy,
Yeah.
for this small town. It was just a bolt of lightning, man, that community needed at that time. And we created this identity called the Mount, which was just ultimately this culmination of all three schools coming together, unifying and pulling in the same direction, to create immense second order change. I mean, that thing had legs for a long time. We ran that for 6 years through that kind of model and had incredible, man, just unprecedented success in Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, I seen it in a lot of stuff, and like from my perspective, looking at photos and pictures that were shared, and a few videos in your posts, I actually, you could feel it. You could feel that culmination, and but I love the pictures on the corner of there were two walls that met, and I think
Yeah,
it said the Mount. It's everything was just so powerful, and you could see it in the kids' faces, and that's what it's all about, right? Leadership is creating that.
for
And
sure.
when we talk about change, I listen to you talk and coming into a district, and I can understand that because I've been principal in 5 or 6 different schools within my district as well, and every school is its own different ecosystem. We understand that. So, and coming in, I think it's important in life. I was going to say education, but in life is to understand that we're always on the quest of getting better. It doesn't mean
Mm.
that what we've done and what we've been through isn't good, right? So coming into a new district like you did, or coming into a new school, we'll observe, but then we'll quickly want to say, well, how do we want to change? Are we looking at how we've always done stuff, and are we analyzing that to see if it's still, if it's still giving us what we need to grow? Is it still giving the students what they need to push even further? And in my experience, those questions aren't asked very often within a lot of schools. We'll be doing stuff day in, day out. We'll get into our routines, and then we'll stop looking at how can we bring in that bolt of electricity, like you said, and how are we going to shake it up? Are we going to change things up? In part, I think as people get comfortable, but and also I think in other ways, it's maybe a mindset that you need to develop, where you're always looking for that next step, right? How can we step it up? How can we make it better? How can we make it grow better? And sometimes you need sometimes that'll come from the people within, but sometimes you need somebody that's going to come in from the outside that's got different perspective, different energy, different look, different everything, right? And come in and just to give that community, the boost that it needs. It's almost like coming in with, your
You know,
battery's
I'll,
dead.
I'll,
I'm
I'll,
coming in with my car and I'm going to give you a boost. You know what I'm saying?
I'll share something with you. I tell the story a little bit in my
Yeah.
keynote.
Yeah.
But there's some context here that makes this what happened even more interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the reality is, I was courted by the superintendent for another school first.
Okay.
So I mean, so he'd been kind of nudging me for about 3 months while I'm still an assistant principal for another school. So here comes springtime. That school is open. I go down there, having been courted for months by the new superintendent. I go and give this interview. I mean, it's just, man, I'm there. I'm present. I'm
Yeah.
hammering. These are my ideas. I've researched the school. And I remember walking out in the parking lot, man, calling my wife immediately, saying, like, pack your bags, man, get ready, because
I
it's
love
go
it.
time. And
Yeah.
I don't hear from him for a couple of days. And that's not a good sign. This guy had been wearing me out for 3 months.
Yeah.
I don't hear anything. And I'm telling my wife, man, I should have heard by now. Like, I crushed that interview. Or at least that's how I felt. And, finally got that call, man. You could just tell instantly the tone of his voice. Like, hey, man, yeah, they thought you were a little aggressive. I said, aggressive? He's like, you're telling me, man, to get fired up, go in there and tell him I'm going to change. That's exactly what I did. He's like, yeah, man, I know. And I just don't have the political capital right now to override this. It was one of those U-shaped boards that I sat in front of, and ultimately didn't get it. Okay. So, and I want to share this with your listeners, man, strategically, purposefully. Like, I didn't get that. I mean, I'm still Ryan Jackson, assistant principal, Maplewood High School. I'm doing big things at that time, PBL learning, coding. I'm trying to change the game in inner city Nashville, coming with the superintendent giving me this charge, and I don't get the job. Bro, I was humbled, man. Took it like a shot in the teeth.
Mm.
And I can remember that feeling. And, maybe 2 weeks later, he calls me back and says, look, man, you may not want to hear from me. And I really didn't at that time. I'm like, bro. He's like, but I got something else I want you to seriously consider. And you're a high school guy, and this is a high school. So this was Mount Pleasant High School that would be offered next. I go through the same process. give a way worse interview during a storm, giving it remotely. Remember telling my
Really?
wife, no way, man, we can just get back to life because that's not happening.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
was called 30 minutes later, you got the job. Now, I give you this context because when I get boots on the ground in Mount Pleasant High School, and it becomes really clear very quickly that this little community is not perceived so well by these other communities, including the one that I had just applied for and
Wow.
didn't get.
Wow.
So I'm just connecting some dots for you. I'm in this new community that's been underserved, that's looked down upon, and this other community just chose not to choose me.
Yeah.
Someone was going to have to pay, man. And that was
Talk,
the
yeah, yeah,
mindset, bro. That
yeah,
that was
yeah,
the
yeah,
attitude. I'm
yeah,
just being transparent with you. That
yeah,
was the attitude
yeah,
going in.
yeah,
Like, this community here is about to get 100%
yeah.
of Ryan
Love
Jackson,
that.
his
Love it.
attitude, his focus, his attention, and everybody else over here, man, sit back and watch
Yeah.
because I'm about to show you what you passed on. And
Yeah.
that may not be the best way to frame it, man, going forward, but that's where I was in my life and
Mm.
the attitude that I took going into that.
Yeah. Well, do you know what I see it as? Just a big piece of motivation, that helps us to push and want to be better. And I think a little competition is good. That's my opinion. I think it's good. Uh, and I don't think you went in there saying that you're going to destroy them and you're going to put them down. You don't elevate yourself by putting other people down, right? It's just, what? I'm going to go in there and I feel your energy because I'm similar to that. I want to go in there and I want to make it so good, not to put others down, but to be able to inspire them to want to up their
For
game as
sure.
well.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's how it
Yeah.
is, man.
We're gonna set a new standard. Yeah, it was very, very less putting them down and more
Yeah,
so just get out of our way
yeah,
because we're going this way. My whole goal at that time was to get our little community to see ourselves as this lighthouse. Okay.
absolutely.
Man, we're gonna turn ourselves into this beacon, this
Love
lighthouse
it.
where we're concerned about going one way, and that's forward. Be 10 toes down, stay in the present. Let's change lives here, and then we're going to watch things adapt to us. So not being concerned about others or fixating on how we're going to beat them. No, man, we're going to handle our business. Man, we're going to inspire and drive forward, and the outcomes of that will be changing lives. And then in turn, other communities, other schools, the entire district starts to take notice and say, wow, this is different. This is
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. And listening to you talk right now, Ryan, it makes you think of, like I want to be the one that takes that huge rock, throws it in the lake, and then just start creating that ripple effect. You know what I'm saying? Like the epicenter is going to be what we're doing in our school. And then that ripple effect that's going to come out from that rock going into the lake is going to affect so many people. And then if it can inspire other schools or other districts to step it up, you know what I'm saying, and bring that energy and bring that power, then all the better, right?
That's a beautiful byproduct, right? Right. If that's
Exactly.
what ends up happening, man, that's just a great byproduct of changing lives.
Yeah. So you know what? I really appreciate your leadership style. You're a guy that comes in, likes to shake it up, likes to bring the energy. Um, so how has that style of leadership worked for you? Has it always been easy? Or how, because being high energy myself, I know that a lot of people appreciate it, but some people might not appreciate it as much. So how have you found your leadership journey so far, being that type of guy that comes in and with always good intentions but high energy and high expectations and high motivation?
I noticed even when you ask the question, man, you almost kind of like have to reflexively kind of laugh at the question because it's not easy. But here's kind of the creed that I live by, man.
Yeah.
Rudeness is an expression of fear. So I'm not gonna be concerned, man, or bothered, with how other people are feeling, which certainly I can't control. I
That's
mean,
right.
especially,
That's
man,
right.
if I'm doing everything above board, man, I'm living right. I'm trying to change the community for the better. Man, if the outcomes that are positive are bothering you for whatever reason, bro, that's your deal. That's your
Mm,
journey, your bag. Now, if you project it as, anger, frustration, which you do get at times. I mean, it's the
Yeah.
reality of the situation. I
Yeah.
go back to that point, man. Rudeness is an expression of fear. That's more on you.
I like
What are
that.
you afraid of? You're afraid of our success? Man, you're afraid that this person may change things in such a way that jeopardizes or threatens, your position in the hierarchy, whatever that is. Man, that's your deal, not mine. I'm gonna stay focused on the vision, on the
Mm.
journey, being in the present. So the short answer is no, it hasn't been easy, but I'll give you a little bit of context. Mentor of mine named Dr. Ron Woodard, also now a great friend of mine.
Okay.
He pulls me out of the classroom when I'm in Nashville. And I remember I was getting an offer to go to another school to be an assistant principal. Okay. And he comes to me, pulls me out of the classroom and says, "Hey, I know you got this deal, a potential, but I want you to think about something. I've got another role for you. I want you to be a dean of students in the school where you currently are."
Okay.
And at the time, that felt like, man, it felt like a holding pattern. It was like it was an opportunity, but I was also getting a better opportunity over here.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you.
But because I trusted him, I take that position as a dean of students. And I can remember, man, he positions it as, "You're going to make allies, not enemies." I'll never forget that when he told me that. He's like, "You're going to become the teachers in this building biggest ally, because you're going to have to prove to them that who was once their just straight out peer, now being
Yeah.
perceived as this dean of students. You've been pulled out of the classroom. There may be this, there may be that. So you're going to have to overcome that." And it was really, man, this trial, but it ended up being so significant. Make allies, not enemies. I was going to take discipline off of everybody's plate. That was one thing you would not have to worry about as a teacher, because I was going to be there, be servant leadership at your
Yeah.
beck and
Yeah.
call.
Yeah.
And I just took that mindset, that energy of make allies, not enemies. So, yes, I may have this personality. It may be big, larger than life at times, how I use social media. But at the end of the day, man, I'm a grounded, humble dude from hard beginnings that's here to help. And if you want help, man, if you need help, I guarantee you, man, I've got your back. Let's work together. Let's collaborate. So most people, man, once they get through that initial kind of shock of who is this person in real life, that start to build this relationship with me, and we start working together, man, it's very collaborative, and they see really quickly, man, that I'm here to help.
I love that. And I was hoping you were gonna say it the way you said it, because then the reason why I asked the question is, when coaching school principals throughout my district and my province here, that's one thing that I noticed is that unfortunately, because they're so worried about what other people will think, or what the community will think, and that's and I'm not saying it's not important. You got to weigh that as well, but I find that often it keeps them from being their best version, or it keeps them from maybe taking a risk and end up doing something that'll benefit the school community by 110%. So I'm happy you said it that way, because, and for the people listening, if you are a school principal, even a teacher, and you're holding back from wanting to be yourself, or wanting to bring the energy, or wanting to put something forward that's maybe different, or you're worried about how people are going to think, just I think sometimes you just got to get out there and take the risk, right? Because that's no risk, no gain. And I'm not saying to go at it blindly. There are ways to go and survey, students and teachers and whatnot, but to hold yourself back from from being 100% yourself, and wanting to bring that energy, and wanting to bring something that's new, because you're worried about what some people will think, or you're worried about what some of your colleagues will be saying about you behind your back. I think that's sad, right? Because you're not living up to your potential. And I've always said, what, when I go grocery shopping, I don't like liver, but when I walk by when I go into the meat aisle, and I go and I'm in front of the liver, I don't stop and leave a message, a note on it saying how, liver sucks and I don't like it. Right. I don't like liver. I just don't even look at it, and I keep walking. It's not for me. And I just pass on it. Right. So, when people are hating on us like that, for example, and there's people like that all over the place, and there's people like that, in our schools when we're working, be it parents or even sometimes staff members, sometimes you got to push through that. Right. And you got to say, like what you said, Ryan, that doesn't belong to me. That's not within my control. I'm putting out 100% of myself. I'm talking to people. I'm considering all the angles, and I want to push forward. So am I going to let those haters really stop me from doing that, or am I going to let that impression that I think I'm having or that I'm going to give, and not thinking that it's as positive for my image, am I going to let that hold me back? I think a lot of my colleagues, a lot of my colleagues that I know, a lot of them hold themselves back, and I think that they could reach such a bigger potential if they actually didn't do that. So I really appreciate your message, and for me, it's
You
to
know,
say, to say
I
to
would
the
add
people,
here.
yeah,
I
go
would
ahead.
add here too, man. I think it's imperative to address this because we're in this threshold of education right now
Yeah,
where, students and student perceptions, student attitude towards things are changing so
yeah, yeah,
rapidly,
exactly.
evolving so quickly, bro, that now more than ever, to quote the great Dave Chappelle, and I'll paraphrase it, but it's really hard to BS a kid these days, man. It's better to just be genuine, to be authentic. So if you're holding yourself back, or even pretending to be something you're not, tempering that
Exactly.
attitude, that excitement, or whatever, man, kids pick up on that really quickly. But the reverse is also true. When you're being your authentic self, man, when you're leading 10 toes down with this powerful vision, I believe in radical candor. When you care about something deeply, you speak to it directly. When you
Mm,
have that kind of mojo, that kind of attitude, man, kids respond to that. Today's students, especially, that are very much big on identity,
yeah,
who we are,
yeah,
not being told who we should be.
yeah.
Man, use that in your own leadership. Be an exemplar of that.
Mm,
And if others hate, man, and then I'm going to go to my second point. If others hate, you said something earlier that I truly believe in. In fact, my TED talk is rooted on this,
okay,
which is
okay.
the impact of competitiveness. Sigmund Freud told us that our innate desire to hunt and kill to survive has
Yep.
not vanished, bro. It's not gone. It
Oh no.
transformed into this will to win. I mean, we want to win. So if these others are focused on hate and focused on what they don't like or cutting us down, man, the energy they have to expend doing that while we are charging forward, bro, that's their loss long term because they
Absolutely.
can't be doing both simultaneously, meaning focused on their people and their work and what they're doing and getting better while they're simultaneously hating on you. That's like, to take fit leaders mindset for a minute. That's like cortisol and testosterone. They have an
Yep,
inverse
yep,
relationship,
yep,
bro. You
exactly.
can't be stressed and your testosterone and your gains be high. Man, you've got to lower that cortisol for that relationship to work. So you
Love it.
can't simultaneously hate on somebody and throw stones while also doing a great job at what you're doing. It does not work that way. So in the end, I'm telling you, man, your approach is going to work and your authenticity is going to win.
Love it. Love it. And what a great segue into my next question. We're talking about how, we can control our thinking, right? Because that's what it's all about. How do I choose to think? What do I choose to think about? And you're out, and I agree 100%. I can't be hating on somebody and then, turning around and thinking I'm doing a fantastic job, on the other side, because that energy, you spoke of the biological piece, but even just the energy piece, they're going to be smashing together. They're going to be at odds, right? So we got to watch out for that. So talking about controlling your thinking, you had a blog post recently on your website. I think it was called Crisis, I believe, but you
Yeah.
talked about how a leader needs to take control of his thinking and how he can go about it. So how does skill and mindset work into a person being able to take control of their thinking, and how is that super crucial for leaders?
It's the foundation. Your world can be rocked by a situation. I mean,
Yeah,
your world can be turned upside down in a moment if you let it. But the reality is, I'm big on the work of Viktor Frankl, man. Man's
yeah,
Search for Meaning.
yeah,
Where man's greatest innate superpower is our ability to choose. And once you kind of get your head around that, and I know it's kind of this nebulous idea, but once you get your head around this fact that you have control of your thinking and how you choose to respond. And I don't want that to sound cliched or overplayed, but there's such a power in it that once you realize that you have that control, and the Chinese have this fascinating philosophy on crisis, which is danger meets opportunity.
mm,
And it's the wise person that in the midst of this tempest, man, this terrible storm, can find and sift through and seek and discover these opportunities, man, those are the people that can transcend out of that situation, because there is always opportunity in crisis. You
Yeah,
have to remain
absolutely.
calm, stay in the present. This is where mindfulness comes in.
Yeah.
I'm big on mindfulness, man. And mindfulness for me started to click when I realized that, it's not so much about, meditation, how we view it or perceive it as sitting there and being tranquil and calm for a long period of time, although that's a great outcome. Mindfulness is about training your attention, bringing it back to being in the present as thoughts drift, as mine do constantly. My dopamine levels are always high, bro. I'm
Yeah.
chasing this, thinking about that, but it's about being in the present and bringing that attention back to right here, right now, and the work we're doing. The more you can stay in that moment, and keeping yourself focused with that mindset of, hey, this is who I am. This is what I'm here to do. I can control how I react to all of these situations around me. Once you can begin to harness that power, man, beginning with who you are, starting with yourself, everything changes for you. Your leadership, your home environment, your lifestyle choices, longevity, sustainability, it all starts to shift towards the good.
And you know what? I'm a living example of that as well. And I did that shift, and I had a coach that helped me do it. And once I discovered it, I discovered it. I was like, why didn't I think of this before, right? So that's the type of work that I bring at the table, with everybody that I have contact with, that I coach, in our masterminds. You got to find that pocket. You got to be able to create that pocket. And then, like you said, you got to stay in that pocket as long as you can, as often as you can. Right. And we're all human, right? So, once in a while, we're going to get outside of it. But within that process that you do develop, while making that pocket is also how to be able to get back into it when I do fall off the proverbial horse, so to speak. So, and that's so important. And you're absolutely right. The impact is everywhere. It's not just at school. It's in your family. It's the way you see life. It's within your interactions with people every single day, every single moment. And to be able to stay in that pocket is life changing. It's life changing. And Ryan, I've seen colleagues of mine adopt it and discover it and figure their way to be able to create that pocket and stay within it. And I swear to you, it's what saved them from burnout. It's what saved it probably, for some of them, maybe even saved their family lives and their marriages. Even I would go that far to say that, because that's how transformative it can be. So for the folks listening to us today, we got to start working on that. If you haven't thought about that, if you haven't considered, okay, what does that mean? Creating that pocket, creating that mindset, to be able to control my thoughts, and to be able to really choose to be positive and choose to see the glass half full. And what kind of an impact can that have on my everyday life at work and at home? And it's super powerful, and I am just probably a great example of that, and it's transformed
I'm
how
gonna
I
give you
see. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna give you some flowers, man.
Yeah,
I think the work you're doing, regarding your mastermind, building capacity in other
yeah,
leaders is so imperative right now. That's not going to be everybody's strength,
no,
right? It's just not leading from the front, or letting your true personality shine as bright as it should, because so many of us have been rooted in this institutionalized thinking,
that's
and
right.
some of that is just being byproducts of public education. For me, being in public administration, public education for such a long time, which is very much an institutionalized box thinking. When you're scaling
Yeah,
something,
that's
you
right.
have to create these kind of institutionalized systems. So how do we press against those? That's not going to be everybody's skill set. So what you're doing is building capacity in those leaders to do that, man, and helping them take, those healthy risks, which in turn can create the kind of sustainability that keeps people in the game
That's right.
longer, man. And that's big, big stuff.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And while within that creation of that pocket for myself, a big piece of that is my health, right? Like my exercise routine, and not just for the physical aspect, but that's got a huge impact on the way I think, on my mindset as well, right? And I know what I'm talking about, and the people that are listening, that know of the feeling, just the feeling of knowing, because it's not every morning that I want to get up at 5:30. I'm going to be 50, and a little bit more creaks and squeaks here and there when I'm moving around, and it's not always easy. But man, when my butt just crosses that door at the gym and I get in there, it's just the best feeling in the world. And I get out of there and I'm so pumped for the day. So it's got a huge impact on, you know, that bubble that I create. It's part of that bubble and the impact it's got on my mindset. So I wanted to talk about that because I want to get into fit leaders, you know, and that's a huge part. So, you know, I've always known that it was an important part. My dad modeled it for me. I was a high level hockey player growing up, so fitness was always part of what I had to do, right? But what the movement allowed me to realize is to go beyond just, you know, what it gives you physically. From what you've shared, from what people shared, that, you know, the post within the Fit Leaders hashtag allowed me to realize that it's bigger than that. It's about how it makes you feel. It's about how it makes you think. It's about how it aligns you up to give 150%, you know, that day, and to be able to sustain it from, you know, 7:15 in the morning, 7:30 when I get in there into my school until I leave at whatever time I leave at. I'm able to bring that energy the whole day and sustain it because, in part, the bubble that I created, part of that is taking care of my physical self. So, you know, Fit Leaders movement has had that kind of impact on me, Ryan. I wanted to thank you for that, but I could not have this conversation with you and not talk about Fit Leaders, and, you know, to let our listeners know and to educate them on what that is. And I'd love for you to tell us about that and how it came to be.
Man, the reality is, the honest to God's truth is, Fit Leaders was birthed out of my alcoholism.
Okay.
January 1, 2023, I will be 10 years sober, man. I'm
Oh,
in the double
congratulations, man.
digits
That's awesome.
on sobriety. So it's a big
Wow.
deal for me and my family, my wife, who played an instrumental role in helping me figure this out. And I started, just quite frankly, man, I started using weightlifting, time in the gym,
Yeah.
lifting iron, to combat the need to drink. Okay.
Yeah.
That quickly turned into, man, you're spending a lot of time in the gym. I can remember my wife telling me that you're spending an awful lot of time in the gym. Maybe you should do something with that. That was just kind of her just general
Oh, that's
thought. Maybe
awesome.
you should do something with that.
Yeah.
And thus the Fit Leaders hashtag was born. Now, at that time, you know, going back approximately 10 years ago, man, you got to remember, in some of the Fit Leaders that have been with us for a long time, it was pretty taboo, man, to put
Yeah.
yourself out there on
Yeah.
social media,
Absolutely.
especially in an
Absolutely.
education realm, like working out in the gym, sweaty, extra, what, flexing, whatever it was, bro. It was taboo. I mean, you could
Oh, I
maybe
hear
be a
you.
runner, but you didn't post about running, or
No, no, no.
so, you know, took some lumps on the front end of that. And what is this? That's weird. But again, man, I'm focused on going this way.
That's
Rudeness
right.
is an expression of fear, bro. I'm focused on bettering myself. You know, I wasn't public at this point in my life about being an alcoholic, but I'm doing this to change me, you know. And here's the root, here's the nugget on Fit Leaders, man. So that's how it's birthed. I mean, it's birthed out of my alcoholism, wanting to combat that,
Okay.
and putting it on social media to be that lighthouse, right? To be that model for
That's
somebody. I
right.
don't care if it's
That's right.
one person. It
Yeah.
turned into a movement that's global. But at this point, I'm willing to help anybody. But what I realized pretty quickly, man, if you go to Maslow's hierarchy of
Yeah.
needs,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
man, that famed hierarchy of needs, bro, we're at the pinnacle of that. He calls it self-actualization. It's a fancy way of saying being your best. Okay.
Mm.
There's the pinnacle at self-actualization. As you work your way up those rungs, the middle one is belonging, love and belong, he calls it. That if you can perceive yourself as belonging to, connected to group, organization, environment, family, whatever it is, in turn, you feel more efficacious. This is Maslow talking, bro, not me. In turn, you feel more efficacious, which is a
Absolutely.
fancy way of saying you feel capable, bro. You know the power in that? Just to feel capable. Man, I see it every day with students. When the light switches, student feels connected. So in turn, they say, I'll try that. Something they didn't want to do, didn't want to try, could care
Absolutely.
less about.
You
When
want
you
a piece
start
of
to
that.
feel efficacious, now put that through the lens of Fit Leaders. Bro, so many of us are working under duress, man. Intense situations, high pressure, hard schools, communities that are insular, where all eyeballs are on you and you're different. You're an outsider. But man, you feel connected. You feel like you belong to this powerful group called Fit Leaders that has leaders at all levels, from all walks and aspects of life, bro, coming together around this idea: live better, lead better, man. In turn, you start feeling more capable, man. Now you're on the road to self-actualization, being your best. That's what the movement has turned into. It's very organic. I love it. We've got everything from Peloton group
Yeah,
leaders,
yeah.
to people who are working with their personal coaches, but using the Fit Leader hashtag, to actual groups, man, that meet in their own masterminds and boxer groups and things like that. So it's very much organic, man. I love the movement. I love just punching in that hashtag, bro, searching and seeing everybody from all walks of life, man, joining the movement and bettering themselves.
Well, it's inspired so many people, and I'll do the hashtag search as well, and I follow it, and because it's just so inspiring, and sometimes it's to get some different ideas, because a lot of people share what they're doing in the gym and how they're
Right.
exercising. I think it's great, but you said it. I was speaking about not only the physical aspect of it, and for the exercise, going to the gym and being active, but also the way it makes you feel, right? And then you touch on it perfectly with Maslow, right? It's all about, and that's what it creates. It gives you that energy to be able to sustain it throughout the day, like I said, but it gives you that, which eventually ends up giving you that connectiveness, because you feel fantastic. First of all, you feel like nothing can stop you. You feel like a freight train, but you can feel like you can make a difference, and that's the efficacy part, right? Like the fact that you've got now a mindset. You're taking care of your body. You feel fantastic. You're able to sustain the energy that you need to be able to do the work that you got to do. But like you said, through the lens of fit leaders, now you've got that feeling that you can make a huge impact with what you have to offer to people, with students and to colleagues. And just that is just immensely inspiring. So I appreciate the people out there that are sharing, that are putting it out there, because it's not about vanity. It's not about that at all. It's not about, and the best example I can give you is I've got a friend of mine that I met at the gym, right? It's always the same group that goes very early in the morning, and you get to know people, right? When you're working out, you say hi, and I've got this one guy, that helps me out, with some of the exercises, and helps me to adjust whenever I'm not doing it right, or if I'm doing it in a way that I can maybe injure myself. So, and this guy told me something. He said, when speaking about progress, take pictures of yourself so that you can see your progress. But he said, sometimes it's okay. You can flex in the mirror, and usually when people will see other people flex in the mirror, they think it's because they're showing off, or when actually, he explained it. He said, no, it's because you're comparing yourself to maybe yesterday, and you're comparing it today. So, and you're looking at your progress. So, it's okay to, after you showered and you're in a change room, and just, take a look at yourself, give a couple of flexes and be proud of what you're doing. And that's part of building, that energy within yourself to say, what, I'm celebrating the success, I'm doing good, I'm moving forward. And that adds to that feeling of efficacy, because the power and the energy that I create in that bubble that we talked about just a little while ago, and I'm creating for myself, is what's going to fuel, that feeling of efficacy as well, in my opinion. If I'm outside of that bubble, I know it right away. I'll start getting grumpy. I won't be in my groove. I won't be running as fast as I could be running, and it'll impact that efficacy as well. I'm not going to be thinking about making an impact with other people. I'm not going to be thinking that I
Now
can make an impact, right?
you said two critical things that
Yeah.
we've got to touch on. Two critical things.
Yeah.
Earlier you had mentioned, there's being and there's becoming, and
Yes.
there's power in both. Okay.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
being and there's becoming.
Yeah.
And the reality is, for me, I mean, I'm a Libra, man, and whether you get into that or not, that kind of stuff, I'm big on balance. It's been
Yeah.
proven to me I need balance in my life,
Yeah.
being versus becoming.
Yeah.
And this idea that we are sort of on this perpetual chase, this journey. It's about, appreciating the journey, man, and embracing that.
Absolutely.
But then let's go to that flexing in the mirror piece. That to me, and you use the word create, you used it a couple of times there. We are creating. And when you get into that mindset, I call it the courage to create, which is ultimately what we want for our students, right? We want a holistic student, man, that thinks, sees, and does as creators, not merely consumers of content. Bro, the reason we're in the jam that we're in now is we have literally been producing generations of consumers. not creators, right? That's
Yes,
why
yes.
doom scrolling, is has taken over us, man. All we do is just
Just
consume this
take in.
content.
That's
So
right.
so the idea that as fit leaders, we're also artisans, man. We are constantly crafting and creating ourselves. And this self-reflection, man, this looking at it, whether you call it, Flex Friday,
Yeah, yeah,
whatever
yeah,
it
yeah.
looks like for you, whatever that flex is for you, man, it is you being reflective and looking at your progress through an artisan lens, through a creator's lens of what you're doing. Man, there's a power in that. And we're constantly self assessing because we're constantly becoming when you're in this. But do a little mindful meditation, man, so that you be sure that you're also being, man, and who you are
Love that.
and being happy, bro, in the present. So it is a delicate balance, man,
Yeah,
for sure.
I love that. That's a great point. And the thing I like about Flex Friday, I'm happy you mentioned that, because I got to thinking, Flex Friday doesn't always have to be just about the physical flexing, right?
For
Like
sure.
whenever I put out a positive message, like if I get up in the morning and I'm in the office at 7:30 and I fall upon this great quote or a great picture, a great message, and I put it out there. But for me, that's like a flex. I'm flexing that positive energy. I'm flexing that sense of efficacy, that if I put this out, then I know I can have an impact on somebody, right? So it's not just about Flex Fridays, for the Flex Friday, it's not just about
Correct.
physical. It could be any kind of positive message that you put out there that you're creating, because you want to create that efficacy, you want to create that change, that inspiration within other people. So
Yeah, man.
it's everywhere.
It's about highlighting, it's about showcasing, whatever that is going to be for you, whether it's a quote, whether it's a
Absolutely.
great workout, whether it's whatever it is you're doing, man. It's you amplifying. We do the bicep
Yeah,
flex.
yeah,
I
I
think
know.
that's
It's
just
just
kind of like the
yeah,
quintessential Flex Friday,
yeah,
image.
yeah.
But even then, the reality is you're showing the peak, man. You're showing what you want right here to highlight and amplify. And it looks like many different things for many different people.
Exactly. So for everybody listening out there, put it out there. Do Flex
Share
Friday
it.
the heck out of your stuff. The positive messages, just do it, man, because it's not just about the physical, but it's about the mental as well, and the spirit, and just get out there and flex it. That's the
And
message
look,
I want to put out.
I tell people all the time, fit leaders especially, or when I give keynotes, if you want to share stuff, and certainly the way the algorithms work now on social media,
Yeah,
man, tag me in it. You want somebody to
yeah,
see it, you want
I love
somebody
it.
to share it, amplify it, tag me in it. You're never alone on this journey. I am all about it. I'm about taking risks. I'm about supporting others. Remember, rudeness is an expression of
Yeah,
fear.
I
So if
love that.
somebody is pushing back on you in that way, bro, that's some deal on their journey that's got
Yeah.
them hung up. Focus on your positivity and your path.
Absolutely. I love it. Love it. Listen, Ryan, I can keep you on. I could be selfish and keep you on for another 2 hours. I love your energy. I'm feeding off of it. I'm really enjoying it. Listen, if the people listening would like to get a hold of you, in which way can they do that? How can they find you?
Oh man, I'm on just about every social media platform, with the exception of TikTok. Man, I've not dipped my toe in that
Me
water.
neither, actually. Yeah.
I feel like at 43, man, I've got enough
Yeah.
platforms that I'm engaged in. I'll leave that to maybe the youngest people right now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
man, they can get me at Ryan B Jackson 1 on Twitter. I'm at Underdogs Advocate on Instagram, on Facebook. Ryan at underdogsadvocate.org is my email. Again, Ryan at underdogsadvocate.org is how you can get a hold of me. But easiest way, man, if you're on Twitter, especially as an educator, put in that hashtag fit leaders. You're going to see me. I'm in there updating every day, bro. I'm working on
Absolutely.
something. I'm real big on stretching and zone 2 cardio
Yeah.
right now. Stretching is my big thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Seen
I'm
that.
big on deliberate cold exposure right
Yeah.
now, man.
Yeah.
Taking those cold showers, man,
Yeah.
to reduce inflammation, increase those dopamine levels, bro, boost your immune system.
That's
So
awesome.
whatever I'm working on at the time, bro, I'm sharing it, usually very vulnerable, about what's going on in my part of the
Yeah.
process. So we're not here to be preachy or, evangelize on anything, man. We're just here to share and help people get better.
That's
But would
right.
love to connect with any and everybody.
Love it. So for the people listening, if you'd like to connect with Dr. J, we'll have all those all that information up on the show notes, on the website. So just head on over to inspireleadership.ca in the podcast section. There will be a section there for Ryan's interview, and all the links will be there. Just need to click and connect. Please connect and share. Use the hashtag and share. So listen, Ryan, it's been a fantastic conversation. I'm so happy I got to talk to you and meet you in person. Almost in person is Zoom, but close
Sure.
enough. I'll take it. Thanks for the inspiration. Last question for you before I let you enjoy this beautiful Saturday. If you had one wish for our listeners today, what would that one wish be?
Oh man, now more than ever, we've got to support each other. It's about love right now for me. Realizing, at 43 years old, man, life is finite. You start to have, like you said, those creaks, those bumps, those lab results that come back. When you're in midlife, you start to realize, man, I'm not invincible. So it's centered around love for me right now, man. I would wish that people would rally around each other, support, uplift, encourage. That's really what I strive for fit leaders to be. Let's support each other. Let's collaborate in meaningful ways, man. We don't need to tear each other down. Somebody was telling me the other day, when you get into these spaces of professional development and keynotes and all that,
Yeah.
You can feel a little competitiveness there. Here's the way I view it, bro. Man, money's not scarce, man. We print money. Okay,
yeah.
man. So think about it through that lens, man. There's enough out here for all of us to eat, man. Let's live and support and uplift each other, bro. There's space for us to be successful, man, in every pocket of this universe. So let's center on love, buddy.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. So listen, keep inspiring us. Thank you for inspiring us. I appreciate it. And you said it, to be not only be a consumer, but be a producer as well. So I'm going to keep putting stuff out there, keep using the hashtag, and I wish you the best. And hopefully we'll be able to connect again, Dr. J, but I'll be seeing you on social media for sure. And, thank you so much for spending this time with me on this beautiful Saturday morning.
Likewise, buddy. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, my friend.